Mixed signals are not confusion. That is the first lie modern dating teaches you. If you have ever felt someone pull you close emotionally, then suddenly step back without warning, you were not dealing with randomness. You were witnessing a psychological conflict happening beneath the surface, one that most people never learn to recognize. Mixed signals are not accidents, and they are rarely about timing, stress, or uncertainty in the way people explain them. The uncomfortable truth is that mixed signals appear when attraction and emotional safety are no longer aligned. She may feel drawn to you, intrigued by you, or emotionally stimulated by your presence, yet simultaneously unsure whether staying connected threatens her sense of control, independence, or emotional comfort. That internal contradiction creates behavior that looks inconsistent from the outside but feels necessary on the inside. Modern dating has made this dynamic more common than ever. With endless options, instant access, and low emotional accountability, people no longer resolve internal conflict before engaging. They engage first, then manage discomfort later. Mixed signals are the byproduct of that imbalance. What makes this dangerous is that mixed signals often feel personal. They trigger overthinking, self-doubt, and emotional urgency. You start questioning what you said, what you did, and what you should change. But the truth is far more unsettling. Mixed signals are rarely about your behavior. They are about her internal negotiation between desire and fear. One part of her wants the emotional experience you provide. Another part fears the vulnerability that comes with consistency. When those two parts compete, inconsistency becomes the compromise. She stays connected enough to feel something, but distant enough to feel safe. No one talks about this because it forces honesty. It forces people to admit that attraction does not always lead to readiness, and that emotional interest does not automatically produce commitment. Instead, society labels mixed signals as confusion, immaturity, or games, avoiding the deeper psychological reality. The real issue is that most people respond to mixed signals in ways that intensify them. They push for clarity, demand consistency, or withdraw emotionally with resentment. All of these responses miss the core truth. Mixed signals are not solved by pressure, logic, or confrontation. They are revealed by how someone manages emotional uncertainty. This is why mixed signals feel so destabilizing. They create hope without security, connection without grounding, and attraction without direction. And if you do not understand what they truly mean, you end up reacting instead of observing, chasing instead of assessing, and losing your center in the process. Once you see the psychology behind mixed signals clearly, everything changes. You stop personalizing inconsistency. You stop negotiating your value. You stop trying to decode words that were never meant to provide clarity. And that awareness alone separates those who get stuck in emotional confusion from those who move through modern dating with calm, control, and self-respect. Before we start, a quick reminder. The real transformation doesn't happen on YouTube. It happens inside the community. If these videos have opened your eyes, what's inside will rebuild your mindset completely. It's not just a course, it's a brotherhood. A private space where men master attraction, emotional control, and the psychology of power. You don't join for a month. You join for life. Every future course, book, and lesson is yours forever. No subscriptions, no limits. Just one decision that changes your direction. If you're serious about growth, discipline, and purpose, click the link below. Join the community. Enroll once, grow forever. Let's dive in. Number 1. Why mixed signals are a psychological response, not a mistake. Mixed signals are often misunderstood as indecision, immaturity, or emotional chaos, but in reality, they are a psychological response to internal conflict. When a woman sends mixed signals, it usually means two opposing emotional forces are active at the same time. One part of her feels attraction, curiosity, or emotional stimulation, while another part feels resistance, fear, or the need to protect herself from emotional exposure. This internal conflict does not happen consciously. Most women experiencing mixed signals genuinely believe they are being honest in the moment. When she leans in, she feels the attraction. When she pulls back, she feels the discomfort. From her perspective, both reactions feel real and justified. The inconsistency appears only when those moments are viewed together. Modern dating amplifies this behavior because emotional engagement often happens before emotional clarity. People connect quickly, share intimacy early, and build emotional momentum without first establishing internal readiness. When attraction accelerates faster than emotional safety, mixed signals emerge as a form of self-regulation. Another factor most people overlook is that mixed signals often appear when emotional power begins to shift. When a woman senses that a connection is becoming emotionally significant, she may instinctively test distance to regain a sense of control. This does not mean she wants to lose the connection. It means she wants to feel that she is choosing it, not being carried by it. What makes mixed signals so confusing is that they are not intentional manipulation. They are emotional adjustments. She may enjoy your presence deeply, yet feel unsettled by how much it affects her. Instead of resolving that tension internally, her behavior fluctuates. Warmth is followed by distance. Engagement is followed by silence. Interest is followed by restraint. Most people respond to this by seeking certainty. They ask questions, push for consistency, or attempt to stabilize the dynamic through reassurance. Unfortunately, this often intensifies the problem. When someone already feels emotionally conflicted, additional pressure increases the need to pull back rather than lean in. Mixed signals are not solved by better communication alone. They are revealed by observing patterns over time rather than reacting to moments. The person receiving mixed signals must understand that inconsistency is information. It shows where attraction exists, but also where emotional readiness is lacking. This is why mixed signals tend to repeat across relationships. They are not caused by the partner, but by unresolved internal dynamics. Until those dynamics are addressed, behavior remains inconsistent regardless of who is involved. Once you understand this, mixed signals lose their emotional power over you. You stop chasing moments and start reading patterns. You stop reacting to warmth and withdrawal and start assessing alignment. And that shift alone changes how the dynamic unfolds, often without a single conversation. Number 2. Why reacting to mixed signals? Emotionally makes them stronger. One of the most damaging mistakes people make when facing mixed signals is responding emotionally instead of observationally. Emotional reactions feel natural in the moment because mixed signals create uncertainty, and uncertainty triggers the need for reassurance. However, this response often reinforces the very behavior it is meant to stop. When someone reacts emotionally to mixed signals, they unintentionally communicate that their emotional stability depends on consistency from the other person. This shifts the dynamic. Instead of attraction flowing freely, it becomes monitored. Instead of connection feeling natural, it starts to feel conditional. The person sending mixed signals senses this pressure, even if nothing is said directly. Mixed signals thrive on emotional imbalance. The more one person tries to stabilize the connection through explanation, reassurance, or confrontation, the more the other feels the need to regulate distance. This creates a cycle where warmth triggers pursuit and pursuit triggers withdrawal. Neither person intends harm, but the pattern feeds itself. Modern dating intensifies this cycle because people are emotionally accessible without being emotionally grounded. Messages are instant, presence is constant, and emotional cues are amplified. Every delay feels meaningful. Every shift feels personal. This environment makes emotional reactions more frequent and more visible, accelerating imbalance. Another overlooked aspect is that emotional reactions often remove mystery. When someone immediately expresses concern, insecurity, or confusion, they reveal how deeply invested they are in the outcome. This does not create safety. It creates emotional gravity. The person sending mixed signals feels pulled toward managing the other's emotional state rather than exploring their own attraction. What keeps attraction alive is emotional neutrality in the face of uncertainty. Neutrality does not mean indifference. It means maintaining composure while observing behavior over time. When someone does not react strongly to inconsistency, the mixed signals lose their power. They are no longer rewarded with emotional response. This is why mixed signals often fade when they are not chased. Without emotional reinforcement, the internal conflict becomes clearer. The person either leans in with consistency or pulls away cleanly. In both cases, ambiguity dissolves. Responding emotionally keeps the door open for inconsistency. Responding with calm observation closes the loop. It communicates that connection is welcome, but not required for emotional stability. This posture restores balance without confrontation or manipulation. Once you understand this, you stop trying to fix mixed signals. You allow them to reveal alignment. And in doing so, you protect your self-respect while letting the dynamic resolve itself naturally. Number 3. Why mixed signals intensify right before a decision is made. Mixed signals often become stronger, not when interest is fading, but when a decision is approaching. This is the part most people misunderstand, and it is why they misread the situation entirely. When a woman feels that a connection is moving from possibility into reality, internal resistance can rise sharply, even if attraction is still present. At this stage, the connection stops being hypothetical. Emotional investment begins to carry consequences. Commitment, vulnerability, and the potential loss of independence come into focus. For someone who is not fully emotionally ready, this creates pressure. Mixed signals emerge as a way to slow the momentum without ending the connection outright. This is why behavior can feel contradictory. She may seek closeness, initiate contact, or express emotional warmth, then suddenly create distance or appear uncertain. These shifts are not random. They are attempts to regulate emotional intensity. Leaning in feels good, but staying in feels risky. Pulling back restores control, but creates emotional absence. Modern dating makes this conflict more common because people enter emotional dynamics without clear internal alignment. Attraction develops faster than emotional readiness, especially in environments where connection is instant and expectations are undefined. When feelings deepen before certainty forms, mixed signals become the compromise. What complicates this further is that the person receiving mixed signals often accelerates the pressure without realizing it. Seeking reassurance, asking for clarity, or pushing for consistency during this phase can amplify the internal conflict. Instead of helping her decide, it increases the emotional weight of the choice. Mixed signals at this stage are a sign that the dynamic is approaching a turning point. Either emotional readiness catches up with attraction, leading to consistency, or the internal conflict becomes too uncomfortable, leading to withdrawal. The behavior intensifies because the emotional stakes are rising. Most people misinterpret this escalation as progress or rejection. In reality, it is neither. It is a psychological crossroads. How the situation unfolds depends less on what is said and more on how emotional space is handled. If pressure increases, distance usually follows. If space is respected, clarity emerges naturally. This is not strategy. It is emotional physics. Attraction requires freedom to choose. When choice feels constrained, desire retreats. Understanding this prevents you from misreading urgency as opportunity. It keeps you grounded when behavior fluctuates. And it allows the situation to resolve itself without sacrificing your self-respect or emotional stability. Number 4. The biggest mistake people make when they think mixed signals mean try harder. When mixed signals appear, most people instinctively increase effort. They become more attentive, more communicative, and more emotionally expressive, believing that consistency on their side will inspire consistency on the other. This reaction feels logical, mature, and caring, yet psychologically it often produces the opposite effect. Trying harder during mixed signals does not create clarity. It creates imbalance. The moment one person increases emotional output in response to uncertainty, the dynamic shifts. Attraction stops feeling mutual and starts feeling managed. The person sending mixed signals begins to feel that emotional momentum is being pushed forward without their internal alignment. This is where many connections quietly fail. The increased effort communicates urgency rather than confidence. It signals that the relationship is needed for emotional stability, not chosen from abundance. Even if intentions are genuine, the psychological message is felt immediately. Pressure replaces curiosity. Obligation replaces desire. Mixed signals do not mean someone needs more from you. They mean someone is unsure how much of themselves they can give. When effort increases, it removes the space needed for that decision to form naturally. Instead of resolving the internal conflict, it amplifies it. Modern dating reinforces this mistake by promoting the idea that communication fixes everything. While communication is essential in secure relationships, during early or unstable dynamics, it can become a tool for control rather than understanding. Overcommunication turns emotional uncertainty into emotional weight. Another hidden consequence of trying harder is self-abandonment. People begin to compromise boundaries, tolerate inconsistency, and accept emotional ambiguity just to keep the connection alive. Over time, this erodes self-respect. And when self-respect fades, attraction rarely survives. What makes this pattern dangerous is that it can temporarily feel successful. The other person may respond with brief warmth, appreciation, or reassurance. But this reinforcement does not signal resolution, it signals emotional regulation. Once balance is restored, distance often returns. The truth is that mixed signals are not resolved through effort. They are resolved through alignment. Either emotional readiness meets attraction, or it does not. No amount of trying can force that convergence. Understanding this changes how you respond. You stop increasing output. You stop negotiating consistency. You stop measuring your worth through response. Instead, you hold your position calmly and let behavior reveal truth over time. This is not withdrawal or punishment. It is emotional maturity. It allows the dynamic to move toward clarity without pressure. And clarity, when it comes, is far more stable than reassurance ever could be. Number 5. Why mixed signals disappear. The moment emotional power is balanced, mixed signals do not survive emotional balance. They exist only when one person feels internally conflicted and the other feels externally invested. The moment this imbalance disappears, the behavior resolves itself, either through consistency or clean distance. This is why mixed signals often vanish suddenly, without explanation, once the emotional dynamic shifts. Emotional power does not mean dominance or control. It means emotional independence. The person who is emotionally grounded does not need immediate answers, constant reassurance, or predictable behavior to remain stable. When this energy is present, the other person no longer feels pressured to regulate the connection through inconsistency. Mixed signals function as a buffer. They allow someone to stay emotionally engaged without fully committing. When the other person remains calm, observant, and self-contained, that buffer loses its purpose. The internal conflict must resolve because there is no longer emotional resistance to manage. This is why people often notice a sudden change in behavior when they stop reacting. Messages become clearer. Interest becomes more direct. Or distance becomes honest. In all cases, ambiguity dissolves. Emotional balance forces truth to surface. What most people misunderstand is that emotional balance is not created by pulling away dramatically. It is created by releasing attachment to outcome. When you no longer chase consistency, you stop feeding inconsistency. The mixed signals lose their emotional reward. Another critical aspect is that emotional balance restores polarity. Attraction thrives on polarity, not predictability. When one person is calm and self-directed, the dynamic regains tension. That tension either pulls the other person forward or allows them to step away without confusion. Mixed signals feel powerful only when they control your emotional state. Once they stop doing that, they lose influence. The person sending them senses this shift immediately, even if nothing is spoken. Emotional dynamics are felt, not explained. This is why people who understand modern dating psychology rarely stay stuck in ambiguous situations. They do not confront mixed signals. They outgrow them. They allow behavior to reveal alignment rather than trying to extract clarity through effort. The moment emotional power is balanced, the situation resolves itself naturally. And whatever outcome follows, it happens without self-betrayal, confusion, or emotional exhaustion. Number 6. Why clarity talks often destroy attraction when mixed signals are present. When mixed signals reach their peak, most people believe the solution is a direct conversation. They think clarity will bring relief, answers, and emotional stability. In theory, this sounds mature and healthy. In practice, clarity talks often accelerate emotional collapse when attraction is already unstable. The reason is simple, but rarely acknowledged. Clarity conversations usually come from emotional discomfort, not emotional readiness. One person wants certainty to relieve anxiety, while the other is still internally conflicted. This creates a mismatch in intention. What feels like honesty to one feels like pressure to the other. During mixed signals, attraction exists alongside resistance. A clarity talk forces that resistance to the surface prematurely. Instead of allowing feelings to evolve naturally, the person sending mixed signals is pushed into a position where they must either reassure, withdraw, or explain emotions they have not yet processed themselves. This is why clarity conversations often produce temporary reassurance followed by renewed distance. The reassurance is not alignment. It is emotional regulation. Once the immediate discomfort passes, the internal conflict returns, and so does the inconsistency. Another overlooked issue is that clarity talks remove emotional freedom. Attraction thrives on voluntary choice. When someone feels they must define, defend, or justify their feelings, desire shuts down. The conversation may sound calm and respectful, but psychologically, it introduces obligation where curiosity once lived. Modern dating culture promotes communication as a universal solution, yet psychology shows that timing matters more than words. Communication strengthens secure dynamics, but it destabilizes uncertain ones. When someone is unsure, giving them space to feel without demand is often more powerful than asking for explanations. Clarity talks also reveal emotional dependency. Even when phrased carefully, they signal that emotional balance depends on the other person's response. This shifts power and reduces attraction. The person sending mixed signals senses this immediately, even if they cannot articulate why. The most grounded response to mixed signals is not confrontation or silence, but emotional neutrality. Neutrality allows behavior to resolve itself without force. It gives attraction room to either stabilize or exit honestly. Understanding this protects you from chasing answers that cannot create desire. It keeps you from sacrificing dignity in the pursuit of certainty. And it allows clarity to emerge naturally through behavior, not promises. Number 7. The real message behind mixed signals that most people never accept. At their core, mixed signals are not a puzzle to be solved. They are a message to be accepted. The message is not hidden in words, timing, or excuses. It is revealed through consistency, or the lack of it. Mixed signals mean that attraction exists, but alignment does not. And no amount of patience, effort, or understanding can replace alignment. Most people resist this truth because it threatens hope. Hope convinces them that if they just wait, adjust, or communicate better, consistency will appear. But modern dating psychology shows that consistency is not created through tolerance. It emerges when desire and readiness meet naturally. Mixed signals persist only when someone is emotionally unavailable, but not emotionally detached. They want the feeling without the responsibility. They want the connection without the risk. This creates behavior that keeps you close enough to provide emotional stimulation, but far enough to avoid commitment. What separates emotionally grounded people from those who stay stuck is not intelligence or experience. It is acceptance. Grounded people accept mixed signals as information, not invitation. They do not interpret inconsistency as mystery or potential. They interpret it as misalignment. This acceptance changes everything. Instead of asking how to fix the situation, they ask whether the situation deserves their energy. Instead of trying to earn clarity, they allow behavior to define reality. This shift instantly restores emotional balance. Mixed signals lose power the moment you stop romanticizing them. They are not depth. They are not complexity. They are hesitation expressed through behavior. And hesitation is not something to negotiate with. It is something to observe calmly. Once you internalize this, you stop being emotionally pulled back and forth. You stop oscillating between hope and doubt. You stop shrinking yourself to maintain access. You become selective rather than reactive. This is the quiet strength most people never develop. The ability to stay open without attachment, interested without investment, and present without surrendering self-respect.